Alright, welcome back. I hope you're having a good day. This is a little ficus cutting. It was actually a piece that fell off of a grafted, like on the ginseng type roots or whatever. And I just kind of shoved it in a little tiny little black pot with this rock. This rock was actually the size of pretty much the whole pot. There is a previous video. I'll put the link in the description or in the comments. But I shoved it in there and it just kind of, grew on in. I don't know really what I was expecting. I had this in a much smaller pot. It was doing okay, except the big root here was kind of forcing it up out of the pot a little bit, and it actually, I went to go work on it one time and I noticed that it was actually floating, because this part here where the trunk kind of bends on the rock, it is actually attached to the rock, and the root was pushing it up out of there, and the rock was actually kind of like levitating over the substrate. So I repotted it in here. It's been a little over 2 months. It's been like 2 months and a week. And just kind of letting it get established before I try to put any wire on it. And I'm going to go ahead and do that now. There's one really strong branch coming right, out of the apex or whatever. There's several branches coming off of that. And then there's 3 branches, so this is really going to take 2 pieces of wire. I'm going to wire the apex in a branch and then the other 2 branches. There's a little piece of scale. Lucky it was only the one. But I will defoliate the whole thing. And then now that it's I didn't have it tied in here. It's steady. It's not super steady, but I've had it in the shade. That's why the leaves are so big. And I'll take it, and once I get the wire on it, I'll go ahead and put it out there in the sun, and the leaves should come out a lot smaller. And I should start getting, since I'm going to cut every growing tip as well, I should get the ramification I'm looking for. Small enough tree. I'll try not to do any time lapse or anything like that. Just kind of make some quick work out here. I should mention, while I'm going here, the usual reminder that I live in Florida. Some of my techniques and my timing may not be great for the average person in the average climate. But if you're keeping indoors, you really should have some grow lights and stuff. I mean, I will say I think that they stay healthier in the actual tropics, because we do actually get a season in which they get less light and a little less humidity, so they do experience a change, and they do seem to go, thrive off the change. Now this last branch that's left here actually has several secondary branches coming off of it. I'm going to go ahead and cut all the growing tips. I'll only be getting wire on the main one here. I think it'll have plenty of energy to get enough back budding to where me cutting off most of the secondary branches isn't going to hurt anything, or at least the growing tips off the secondary branches. And since I plan on getting it back out there in the sun, it's one of these things now where even this old one in the old pot that it had would get kind of sunburned out there from time to time. I had that one out in the sun. But as we do head into fall, it'll kind of be less and less. Still plenty warm and humid, but a little bit less sun, less hours of it anyway. So usually before I wire, I kind of test and just see what kind of flexibility it's got. I'll be wiring these two together. And then this one that my hand's behind here is basically the apex, and I'll be wiring that with that last one there. And everything's pretty good and flexible. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the two lower ones. And I have to go really nice and slow and steady. I don't want to disturb it on that rock. If I disturb it, I'm going to feel like I'm going to need to leave it protected in the shade for a few more days, or a few more weeks even maybe. Where if I don't disturb it at all, I feel like I can get it right back out in the sun. Some of these, like this one here, I kind of guessed. I mean, maybe a couple centimeters too long on the wire. I probably won't even cut that off. So I may be able to just kind of use the end there to wrap it up a little bit better as it grows a little bit before I take it off. And that went really well. Got a little bit of a better hold on that rock and in the pod than even I thought. Sometimes for me, the worst part of it, not being able to be out there in the sun, is it hasn't been out there in the rain either. And we finally got a decent rainy season going here. And all of my, especially ficus trees, are really going through a big growth spurt. And this is, this one's been growing fine. You can see it was healthy, but I think if it was out there in the rain, it'd be doing even better. So now I'll get it out there in the rain and sun. Probably got about 2-3 weeks left of some rain. And the apex, I'm definitely going to leave that little extra piece of wire a little bit long on there. I think I'll cut this one off a little bit, just it's sticking out a little bit too far for me. So now I really haven't given all that much thought to which side would be the front. I'm trying to think about like how I might, try to present it. This side has a little aerial root that's been kind of draping over the rock there. This side had 4 or 5 aerial roots come out. They kind of dried up. I'm going to go ahead and bet that this one will probably dry up before it reaches the substrate there. Not sure. So this side, you can kind of see the trunk and the slope. The rock looks a little bit cleaner on this side. Of course, that's the side I was just looking at, and you were just looking at the side that had the aerial root on there and everything. I think I might think of me looking at this one as the front, but it's probably not going to matter much because, I've only got, 4 or 5 inches to work with. I just like to get a little movement, definitely down quite a bit, and then as it back buds, hopefully each one of these gets like 3 or 4 back buds or buds on the branch itself, and really give me something to work with. And I'd like to keep I really want the thing being huge. I'd like to keep the foliage as close to the rock as I can, keep the attention on the rock. And then probably like that. And do something like that. Just kind of playing around with it for now. And there it is from the other side there.